Longbox Guys. With me, as always, is some of my very best friends and a great new friend that I just met. Tommy, how you doing and what are you drinking?
I am doing okay, and I am drinking some old camp whiskey because I can't wait until this bottle is gone. How are
You
you
have been
doing,
working
Tommy?
your way through that goddamn bottle for a while.
It's like a job for you at this point.
Yeah, you're
It
like punching
is.
in and punching out.
I got like an inch and a half left.
He's got about 2 episodes left. That's what I'm hearing.
He's got about three of what my wife calls a normal sized penis left. Mike, how you doing and what are you drinking?
I'm doing excellent, and I am drinking an uncut gem. It's an amber lager from Hapa's Brewing Company.
Uncut gem is what LT's wife calls his dick. L'chaim, by the way. I'm sorry, who makes uncut gem?
Hapa's Brewing Company. It's
Hapa's.
right around the corner from my house.
Nice. And John, my new friend, how are you doing and what are you drinking?
I'm also good. I'm drinking a Run Wild IPA by Athletic Brewing Company. It is a non-alcoholic IPA. It's one of the only of a couple that I actually like the taste of.
Well, IPAs is really more of Josh's thing, so I don't like you talking about it like that. Know your role.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of roles, this is just my segue, man. Speaking of roles, we're going to be talking about role-playing games today. And John, you, my friend, write role-playing content. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, about a year ago, I dipped my toes into writing adventure paths and adventure modules for a company that I admire called Frog God Games. It's run by Bill Webb and Matt Finch and Zach Glazer, and they have a bunch of other people that I either enjoy reading what they write, or in the case of Chuck Wright, him and I were Army buddies back at Fort Bliss in '94. So I kind of have like this crazy connection to the company, and I started writing some stuff for them. And I figured, hey, I can do this myself. I don't need to work with a company. So I started Old Gator Games, old being kind of like my general countenance, and Gator, short for interrogator, which was my job in the Army, and Games, which is what both old people and Gators like to play. So I figure that was the case.
And your Kickstarter, how did that go?
Yeah, so May 18th, I started a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons module that I'm calling Blood of the Broodmother. It's kind of a jungle adventure that I'm basing off of some of my experiences living in Uganda. Obviously, I didn't bump into any broodmothers or lizard folk or kobolds or sturges, but you can count on those sorts of things in this adventure path. It funded in 3 hours on the first day, and then I'm getting really close to the $4,000 mark, which would put me just over 350% funded. I'm bad at math, but it's somewhere around there.
Well, nice. You said you did it a little bit on your time in Uganda. Now, we have something in common that I didn't know. We were both at Fort Bliss.
Oh, well,
I did basic at Fort Bliss.
Yeah. Are you an air defense guy?
I was a nuclear weapons specialist.
Oh, got it. So not a duck hunter, but a duck killer.
That's right.
Got it. Yeah, Fort Bliss was super not awesome.
Super not awesome. The best thing I ever say about Fort Bliss is the people are nice because sooner or later, everyone has to perform CPR on everyone else because everything's trying to kill you.
Right. No, that's true. To include if you're trying to get from Juarez back into El Paso at like 3 a.m. There's definitely things trying to kill you.
And even the wildlife was like, I saw a scorpion on a water snake, on a water moccasin. These things should not even exist in the same area. No. And a brown recluse was like, go get those guys. Right. Like, God damn it.
And then they popped your Humvee tires. No, I'm with you.
But today we are talking about role-playing games. Specifically, we're talking about role-playing games as it goes to superheroes. So we're going to be talking about the 5. Everyone's going to get 5. Some of us are going to do repeats. 5 of the role-playing card or role-playing games that we loved, why we loved them, what made them great, what made them not so great. And we're just going to go through that round robin style. This was Mike's baby, so I'm going to let Mike go first. Are you starting with your first pick or like your least favorite pick?
I don't have them ranked in any particular order.
Okay.
So again, we're doing superhero themed, either role playing games, card games, or board games. Whatever the milieu may be, it's always going to be based on superheroes. So for me, my favorite superhero role playing game was the old TSR Marvel Superheroes.
Boom! You are remarkable.
I was hoping I would be incredible or amazing.
That was the oddest ranking system. It went. I don't have them memorized. Mike, do you have them memorized at all?
Sure. Poor, average, good, excellent, remarkable, incredible, amazing, monstrous, unearthly.
I'm unearthly that you remembered all that. Clap, clap, clap. So that was kind of like instead of 3 to 18, that's where your skills were, and you would match that against someone else's. If you had a remarkable strength and they had a average strength, you're probably going to win every single time, unless you spend hero points and do something remarkable.
Right, and it was two 10-sided dice that you used, and the attributes were face rip. Fighting, agility, strength,
Yes.
endurance, reason, intuition, and psyche. It was a super easy game to just pick up and start playing. Didn't have a ton of very complicated rules. There's just a little chart. You roll, compare the number on the chart versus success or failure, and boom, you're good to go. So that's what I liked about it, was the ease of playing it. Plus, Marvel Superheroes. That's where I finally learned, okay, why can Hulk always beat the Thing? Well, obviously, because Thing only has monstrous strength, while Hulk has unearthly strength. That makes total sense.
It all makes sense. My favorite thing about that game was we were playing one day and we were trying to convince the Avengers to do something. And Seahawk, which was Josh's character, accidentally murdered Captain America. Do you remember that?
Yes.
He thought he'd pulled his punch enough where he wouldn't just totally destroy down to the molecular level Captain America, but Captain America misses his shield block and is murdered. We weren't even really fighting him. We were just trying to get them to stop for a minute. We're trying to explain something, as all good superhero teams fight each other. Things are, and we murdered Captain America.
Things went downhill from there.
Yeah, I had some good characters in that. I like that. You usually did. That was a good one. All right, let's move it on. How about you, John?
I'm gonna have to go with Champions for role-playing game. Yeah,
Drink.
I mean, so came out right in the heyday of role-playing games for me. 1981 time frame was right when I was getting ready to go into high school. We had been playing Dungeons and Dragons a bunch. Came across the Champions thing, incidentally based off of an earlier edition of a superhero game, which I'm not going to disclose in the event that it might be one of my other top 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I like the best about the Champions game, in addition to being a superhero, right, is the fact that when during the character creation portion, it kind of described an effects-based powers as opposed to what the powers looked like, right? So you described what you wanted your power to do, laser beams, or I want to destroy things with my hands, or fly through the air, and that was how the character was created, as opposed to like I said, like how it looks. So we just had a lot of fun playing it. Just was a break from D&D when we were playing it.
All right. Good answer, my friend. How about you there, Tommy?
I'm going to have to go with the card game Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Drink, you son of a bitch.
I didn't even think of that one. I love that game. Damn it. I'm going to drink because I love that game that much.
Uh-oh. He was ready to show off his stuff.
I love that game. I mean, there's only one character that I always play, which is Haka.
I was going to say, I know your character.
Because Haka always refers to himself in the third person.
I think it's you, LT. I think it's you.
No, Mike, back me up on this. Everyone who plays Haka always refers to him.
It's true. Haka always speaks in the third person. Doesn't matter who plays Haka. That's how Haka speaks.
Smash.
So the great thing about this multiplayer card game is I love that it's a cooperative game, right? So it's the heroes are playing against the game itself. So as heroes, I've got another game over here, which is also superhero based. It's a DC deck building game. However, I don't like this game because you try to screw over the other players as you're playing it. And I'm like, that's not what heroes do.
It's not heroic.
So the Sentinels is a cooperative card game that has a ton of different expansions. You can even play it on your iPad, and play it online if you want. It's super fun. They went out of their way to create kind of a universe. All the cards have fake quotes from different issues of these fake comics that the heroes and villains are in. The artwork is consistent, so it doesn't matter what set you have. You're looking at the same style, so it's not jarring to take one supplement and put it into a.
And the gameplay is great. I mean,
very smooth.
It really is. It really is. Sometimes sometimes it's hard to beat. The villain. It's pretty evenly matched. It's like you don't always win. Sometimes you lose. It's
that little girl who's dreaming. About monsters. That's a toughie.
Because you do any damage to her, you're going to kill that little girl, and you're like, no, I don't want to kill the girl.
That's not a good one to have Haka, because Haka does a lot of area of effect things. So this little girl is creating monsters in her nightmares that you have to fight. So you can fight the monsters, but if you do any area of effect damage, you hurt the little girl, she dies, the game's over, you lose.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really cool villains like that you have to do something totally different to defeat.
And the way the game is set up, depending on how many players you are, the difficulty of the villain increases too. So if you're playing a 1 or 2 player game, it's going to be just as hard as if you have 5 heroes.
It's funny that it absolutely is a card game. But I don't really think of it as a card game because you don't collect cards; you just have the cards. I think of it a little bit more like a role playing game, I guess, like a card game. But thinking about it, it definitely is a card game. All right, that brings me to mine. Mike, this is a nostalgia one just for me and you. What the fuck was the name of that stupid card game that Marvel came out with that we had in New Orleans?
Look at it. He's super excited. Look.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Shit out of that game.
I had the rogue deck.
Yeah.
Like each hero had their own deck.
Yeah.
It was almost like Magic, but oh shit, I don't remember the name of that game.
Let's just call it Marvel Heroes. And the reason I love that is we were dirt broke. We were so broke in New Orleans that we cordoned off the house so we'd have enough air conditioning to cool the kitchen. And we'd play on the floor because it was cooler down there. We were doing a grocery list where we took into consideration if we bought cheese mac, if we had enough money for butter to put on it. We were that poor, but we had one game. We had one game with us, and it was a stupid Marvel card game, and goddamn, we played the shit out of that game.
All right, it was called Overpower.
Oh, that's it, Overpower. Was not a balanced game. Was not a great game. Was a game that didn't make sense on a lot of levels because Kitty Pryde should not be able to beat the Silver Surfer in a fair fight. But did we have fun playing it? We had a good time. And we played hundreds and hundreds of hands.
Because we had nothing else
to do. TV? Ridiculous.
We could afford a TV. We listened to Thursday night television on the radio.
We did. We listened to a lot of Friends episodes.
Yeah, 87.7 picked up the local NBC station, so we would listen to Must See TV on the radio.
Good times. But man, that was not a good game, but I had a good time playing it with you, my friend.
Thank you. All
That
right,
brings me to you, Mikey.
all right, so I'm going to go to another card game along the same veins, but the reason I like this game is if you're by yourself and you want to just go play a card game, you can easily play this game, you versus the game. Or if you've got a friend, you and a friend versus the game. You don't want to have you can play up to 4 people, but the more you have, the longer the game gets stretched out and makes it even harder. But what I'm talking about is Marvel Champions. So the core game comes with...
Drink, you bastard.
all right. The core game comes with Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Iron Man, and Black Panther. But there are so many supplements to other characters and other villains that you can get. It's just a lot of fun. I love playing me some Spider-Man. He's just so much fun and I drive my son crazy because we play the game, and when we do it, I'm role-playing whoever I am.
And he's just going with it.
And so I get to make really bad puns and quips the whole time I'm playing Spider-Man. I don't have a lot of fun playing Captain America.
So you're playing Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of mad at you about this game because when you first said you loved this game, I ran out and got the wrong game. I got the new Marvel one with the miniatures. And you're like, oh, I'm not playing that because Mike doesn't like making and painting miniatures. I do. Kind of. At least I did during COVID.
Save it for your turn. It's John's turn. John, what do you got next?
I'm going to go old school. Again, Villains and Vigilantes was a great game. Another
nice.
Great game, early 80s. Was when we started playing it. I think it came out before then. But the best part of that game is it was supposed to be kind of like your alter ego, an amplified version of yourself. So it was, like I was super into ninjas in the 80s. That's when all the good ninja movies were coming out. That's when I was able to find nunchucks for $4 a pair and sell them for $20 in high school. I mean, those are the good old days. I supplied every gang, both sides, with nunchucks, throwing
the Sharks
stars,
and the Jets respected you.
butterfly knives, everything. So anyway, I just hid them under my trench coat or under my fedora. My black eyeliner had everyone fooled. No, but that game was, is pretty fantastic. It does require, to suspend, as role-playing games often do, to suspend disbelief and reality. I know that I didn't have a 16 intelligence, but my characters generally did. So it's, I think that was the best part about it. And Jeff D was involved in that project, so he's an RPG, guy back in the day. And I don't know, again, it's just one of those things where we really, is just a break from, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And it was fun to be ourselves because we were pretty badass back then. So,
All right, how about you, LT?
My next one's going to be Legendary. And anybody
yeah.
Nobody plays the deck building game Legendary?
I don't play, but I know
Marvel Heroes Legendary?
Yeah.
I have not played it, but I've heard good things about it.
It has similar game mechanics to Sentinels of the Multiverse, but it's with Marvel characters and different villains. There are some big differences in that, it's more like a deck building game where you actually have to buy stuff than Sentinels. It's a different game mechanic, I should say, but it's a really fun game. And it's something that you can play with 3 or 4 people and have a good time with. And it is a cooperative game like Sentinels, so you're not fighting other competing against other heroes in a heroic way. You're all fighting against a villain. So I like that aspect of it. And it's just a really fun game. It's but it is deck building, sort of like one of your like Settlers at Catan or one of your other things where you have to try to amass different cards in your hand to get stuff. You have to hoard resources, if you will.
All right. That's what I've been wanting to look into. Now, Mike, when you were talking about your game, I talked about the game that I bought, and you immediately thought that was going to be my next pick. It's not. I haven't even played that game. I only bought it because I thought you were playing it. It's totally my fault. You said Champions clearly. Clearly, you said Champions. And I just ran out and bought that and made a Doctor Strange and a Clea figure, which is actually kind of fun. I'm glad I did it. But that's not my next pick. My next pick is Hero Clicks.
Oh.
Nobody? I love
yeah.
HeroClix. If I could get one of you guys addicted to HeroClix again, I'd fucking be right back into the fucking thing.
I gave away all my HeroClix, man.
Me too.
I don't even know where my. I think I might have given one away because I don't remember where they are.
So expensive. That was crack. Like you get it's like a scratch ticket with superheroes. Fucking yeah, feed my addiction, assholes. And I had some really cool characters. And of course, I got a Luke Cage, so I got my Luke Cage fix in, so I can have Luke Cage, and I can make the old Defenders team, or I can make like a real cool Hydra team, and that was fun. And that was fun.
Yeah, and one of the good things about it is there were Marvel HeroClix and DC HeroClix, so you could actually have, the Justice League fighting the X-Men if you wanted.
And one of the things I liked the best was also the indie clicks, and even had horror clicks. So I had like Jason and Freddy Krueger.
Wow.
Yeah, versus like my street level heroes. It was a fun game. You can do a lot. Did you ever play, John?
No, I haven't played that game, but I like the idea of cross genre. Adding the horror element to the superhero element. It's one of the things I like best about some of those video games where they, where you're fight like Street Fighter style, where you're, the normal Street Fighters, and then all of a sudden, here comes Freddy Krueger, or here comes the Hulk, or even cross, DC versus Marvel type of, cross world, games. But I haven't ever played that one.
That one was a lot of fun. Don't get into it because it was massively addictive, because you get these boxes and you couldn't see who's in the box, so you never know what you're getting. And of course there was common, rare, ultra rare, super rare, and it was fun.
I collected a lot of basketball card games in the 90s, so I know exactly what you're talking about, where you just can't you can't stop buying them sometimes.
You can't stop. Tommy, Magic was way before HeroClix.
Really?
Way before HeroClix.
Okay.
Because it's
a similar thing, though. It's like people were buying them to try to get the rare and the more powerful cards.
Yeah, I was
not me.
Differences. Not you?
No, I was trying to get or goblins.
Goblins.
I just wanted goblin bombs. That's all I want. I just wanted to send a bunch of suicide goblins at people and just enjoy myself.
I was when we're talking about Magic, I was totally a zombie lord. That's what I liked. But we're not talking about Magic. We're talking about HeroClix. I gave a bunch of mine away. They were a fun game. John, I do not recommend getting back into it, though. You can pick those figures up for pennies.
Oh yeah, I know that Warhammer 4000K or 40,000K is one of those super money, sucking adventure games or games. So I'm with you.
You do see the workbench behind me full of war horsemen.
Yeah, sorry. I maybe I learned my lesson with basketball cards.
Maybe you did. Mikey, what's your next pick?
My next pick and my last pick, because of other people have chosen mine. I am going to go with Mutants and Masterminds.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I have to drink too. Sorry, dude.
It is just a fun game. I really like that DC has a supplement. So if you want to play Mutants and Masterminds, make your own characters, cool. But you can also pick up the DC supplement, and it is the same game mechanics. And you can now have your heroes mashing with DC heroes and villains. It's a good time. Really liked it. I do have a couple honorable mentions, so I'll keep on going if somebody mentions one of my honorable mentions. But yeah, I really like Mutants and Masterminds. The only problem is it's like there's so many different power sets that they have available. It gets kind of confusing, and I'm too lazy to learn the system again. So I just tell Josh what I want to do, and he tells me what to roll.
Same here when I play that game. You're up, John.
Oh, me. How about? How about? I was gonna say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's not really one that I like. I love or like. But in the early 2000s, all of the D20 games were pumping out retro clones and D&D clones and things like that, where everything was D20 based. But I'm gonna say Savage Worlds Necessary Evil as a role-playing game, and this game was it came out in the Pinnacle Entertainment Group, came out in 2003, and instead of being like a superhero, it more kind of has like a Suicide Squad feel to it. Like, who's going to save the world when aliens kill all the superheroes? It's going to be Doctor Doom, Magneto, Joker. These guys are the playable, superheroes in Necessary Evil. So I thought that was pretty fun because, we're playing in a evil aligned D&D campaign or Pathfinder campaign with Mike periodically, and it is fun to play the bad guy every now and then. Just to see things from the other side, and no one gets to play the Joker. No one gets to play, these supervillains. So I think that one's. I'm not going to say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was going to save that one for another one. But if I can just say, Necessary Evil, I think that pretty much rounds out my list pretty good.
All right, that's a fine list. Tommy, you're up next.
I'm going to go with Super Munchkin.
Super Munchkin.
Yeah,
damn it, Drake, you got me. God damn it, the only
That's
one
a good. That's good. I didn't even think about that.
I love Munchkin and all the Munchkins. Super Munchkin is a great version of Munchkin with its flying powers and its all of its different accoutrements. Obviously Munchkin is a very simple game. You break open a door. You can have items in the treasure that can augment your character. You can have different races, classes, or in this instance, heroes. And it's just a fun game, relatively easy to learn. Trying to get to level 10 before
and Steve
everybody
Jackson's
else.
games are also great. I remember playing the original version of Car Wars back when it first came out. I think they had a new release a couple years ago for Car Wars. So yeah, Steve Jackson's very prolific.
Then just give honorable mention to GURPS. Because GURPS was Steve Jackson Games, and that was a universal role-playing game where didn't matter what genre you want, you could use the system to play it, and they had a superhero game. I never played GURPS Superheroes, though, so I can't really speak to it.
Yeah, I didn't play GURPS Superhero, but it's, again, like a D20 system that's kind of like a setting agnostic. You can pretty much do whatever you want with it. Fate's the same way, where you can kind of just build your own thing.
Yeah. All right. That goes over to me. Neat. I'm going to go way back. I only had one. As growing up as a kid, I had very few games that were superhero-y. But I did have the Spider-Man board game from 1977.
Nice.
You guys remember that one? I had to look it up because I wanted to make sure I had the box right. It had like its own little setup where you had the board game and you could build the Daily Bugle and a couple other buildings, and the characters would be on 2 different levels. It was a classic board game, but it was really, really cool because of the board itself. But like I said, it was 3-dimensional when you built it up. Mikey, did you have this?
No.
Actually, I'm looking at the 1995 version of it. That's the one I had. Sorry. No, not 1995. Oh. This is the reprint. So I probably had the original 77 version because that's when I was a kid. I'm looking at the 95 reprint, but it looks exactly like the one I had as a kid, and it was cool.
Hey, John, Can you move your microphone just over a scooch because we're picking up your breathing on your nose?
Who, me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. It's better.
Yeah, that works out a lot better.
If anyone was lucky enough to have this game as a kid, and I had to play by myself, no one would play with me. But it was fun. I liked it. I played all the characters. I was a very sad child. Mike, how about some honorable mentions from you?
So I only have one honorable mention because you guys have knocked it out of the park with all your choices. But I'm going to go with the DC Heroes game by Mayfair.
Yeah, I barely remember that.
It was a big box edition, and what was depressing is I bought the DC Hero game, and I never could find anybody to play it because I was the only one who had the game, so I was the only one who had access to the rules, and everybody was like, "No, I don't want to play that. I don't want to learn a new system." And I got a bunch of different modules because this was one of the few role-playing games that actually had modules to it, so you could play the Teen Titans, you could play the Justice League in different scenarios, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome!" I got a Suicide Squad adventure that I was super excited about, and I ended up just selling it all a few years ago when I was getting ready to move because I'm like, I've owned this game for 20 years and have never played it. I think it's time to sell it.
At least, how long are you going to hold on to Twilight Imperium then?
You shut your yap.
John, any honorable mentions from you?
Yeah, so what could be arguably the first commercially available superhero RPG was Superhero 2044, or back in 1977 when it was popular, it was just Superhero 44. I never played it, but it was the basis of a lot of these games we're talking about. Champions, the one Mike just mentioned, the DC game, all of these are based off of that original prototype game. And even though it was like a self-published staple in the middle pamphlet style game, and as I recall, it was pretty crunchy, so rules heavy. It was hard to play it, kind of as written. It had, 2 hours of gameplay to resolve 14 seconds of real time, of in-game time. So parts of that didn't work, but the parts that did, spurred writers in the different trade magazines in the time to say, hey, these superhero games are the future. And soon after, like when I was in high school, there was like 6 different superhero games to include the ones that I've mentioned. So that would be my only honorable mention.
Tommy, how about you?
I mean, I don't really have any other honorable mentions unless you include Illuminati.
No.
Me and Mike legitimately stabbed each other one night over Illuminati. We're not talking about it.
We were so bad at it, we couldn't stop cheating. We would.
God help you if you had to go to the bathroom. You just lost. If you broke and had to go to the bathroom, you were just coming back a loser. I set fire to your cards one night. You went to the bathroom, you came back, I had set fire to everything. Totally within the rules. I do have one honorable mention. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends had a board game, and I had that one as a kid too. So way back in the day. No, I'm not sorry, not Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four for some reason. But the artwork looks exactly like the Amazing Friends thing, which I don't understand.
It's probably based on the Fantastic Four cartoon back in the 60s, I guess.
Yeah.
Did it have Herbie?
That's the thing. It had the Human Torch. It didn't have Herbie, but the artwork is absolutely 100% the Herbie time.
Yeah, so it's the same style. Herbie was actually in the 70s, but in the 60s they did have a Fantastic Four cartoon where they weren't afraid of children setting themselves on fire, so they did have the Human Torch.
I thought they just didn't want to draw the Human Torch.
So do they have the human glow stick now? Is that more in line with safety?
Over our fear of children being on fire, or we've just accepted Darwinism as our Lord and Savior.
Yeah, one or the other.
One or the other. All right, so that wraps up for RPGs. Unless someone has one other thing they want to say about the subject, I'll just say this: go out and play, guys.
Yeah.
With that being said, Mikey, what do you got at the front of the long box?
So at the front of the long box, I have a brand new comic. It's an indie comic from Vault, which I know LT is going to be interested in. It's called The Blue Flame. And I got to tell you guys, I picked it up on a whim just because I saw the artwork on the cover and I was like, that looks interesting. And it was really good. The story kind of makes you feel like you're reading an Adam Strange comic at the very beginning with its, hey, he's just adventuring in space. But then all of a sudden it turns into, from this intergalactic thing to, I think, a kind of a take on the real life superheroes, which you were part of, Tom, because it's just this normal dude who his superhero identity, and I use air quotes, is the blue flame. And I don't know if he actually has any powers or not. He just hangs out, he goes to work, does his job, and then afterwards pops on the blue flame helmet and costume and drives over to the local hotel and meets up with the other superheroes in his group. And then they go out to a little convention where, a little local convention at this auto show where they're making a guest appearance. And a gunman comes out and just starts mowing down the crowd. Spoilers, by the way.
Spoiler!
But I have no idea what those two stories are and how they connect to each other, but I'm excited to find out. The artwork is really good, and more importantly, the writing grabs you. It's very difficult to make a superhero comic on the independent scene because, there's a lot of retread ideas out there where they're like, oh, it's Superman, but he's, instead of being from Kansas, he's from New York City or something like that, right? They just take one of the tropes and they kind of change it around a little bit. But this is a totally original character, and I'm really enjoying the comic.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned my old time as part of the RLSH community, because John invoked him earlier when he said old school. Old school was my character. That was my superhero persona when I was patrolling the streets of San Francisco. That was a fun time of my life.
Yeah,
but you were the real life superheroes. For those of you who don't know, they were actually trying to make a difference. Like Tom was picking up needles to make sure.
Picked up thousands and thousands and thousands of used needles. I actually have a box right here next to my desk of over 5,000 used needles that I've been picking up over the last year here in Boston. I'm still doing it. I just kind of stopped wearing the costume. I like my costume. John, you would have loved my costume. It was very much like in the spirit of the spirit. It was just a white shirt and a tie and a fedora.
And that's it?
And that was it.
No
There's
pants.
No,
Good,
no
perfect.
pants.
Yeah, flip-flops, a light coat of oil. No, I'm down. That's perfect.
And Joe No Pants was a different character.
Joe No Pants.
Got it. I guess I heard San Francisco. That's kind of a bad stereotype. Okay.
Yeah, and most people knew me more as Sock Guy because I would give out socks to the people who were shooting up because everyone deserves a nice warm pair of socks. And I found that if I was handing those out constantly, everyone was nicer to me. Socks and granola bars, but I became known as Sock Man. I wanted to be old school. I was Sock Man. But that was a long time ago. Speaking of a long time ago, Tommy, what do you got at the back of the long box?
I have Artifice by Alex Wolfson, Winona Nelson. It's put out by AMW Comics back in 2017. You can find it on Comixology to buy. And it was kind of an interesting story. It's one of their Pride comics that are on sale right now in June. And it was kind of an interesting concept. The concept was that there's an artificial intelligence android that him and 5 others of his model were sent to a colony to destroy all of the humans on the colony. And they killed everybody but this one human that had escaped. And they thought they had gotten everybody, and they were about ready to leave, and they set off a booby trap, and 4 of the androids were destroyed. And the one last android was trying to find a place to recharge and discovered that there was that one last human, and he had to keep the human alive in order to survive because he needed the human to keep giving him computer access so that he could recharge until a rescue ship came and got him. And the reason that this human was alive is that he was separate from all the other colonists because he'd been an outcast because he was homosexual. And it was the story about this artificial intelligence android and this homosexual, and they fell in love and had a relationship. And it was much more cerebral because it was most of the story takes place when this corporation that had sent out this android to kill everyone had brought this android back and was trying to figure out why he had failed so massively, and also why he had killed so many of the retrieval team. And they'd set him down with a psychologist to try to figure out what was going on. And it's a very cerebral and kind of interesting idea on the whole subject of artificial intelligence. And it was a very new concept. The comic itself didn't quite hit it out of the park for me, but it was just okay. But it was definitely a brand new concept in my mind. I hadn't seen anything like it. And it kind of ended on a cliffhanger. It didn't really kind of finish the story for me, and I think that's one of the reasons why I can't say it was a great comic. It was just an okay comic for me, but still worth picking up if you're interested in getting some diversity for Pride Month.
All right, and we always are. We always are. Well, I guess that about does it for us today. We don't have a tangent to go on unless anyone has one. John, you got a tangent over there?
Oh. Yeah, I got a tangent. Here's a tangent.
Okay.
Really quick. So there's a wrestler, independent wrestler named Andy Bellinger. He goes by the name of Animal Bob Anger. He's a masked wrestler. Anyway, he started a company called Lethal Comics. And his first issue is called Mother Trucker. And it's about a wrestling truck driver gal who's looking for her kids and trying to win the championship belt at the same time. So it's like a 80s action movie meets Saturday morning cartoon meets pro wrestling from the 90s. And there might be a little TNA in there, maybe not. But I got to see some of the proof, the art proof as it was being made. And I got to see some of there's a centerfold in it, if you can imagine kind of a comic book centerfold. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. And since we were talking about wrestling a little bit earlier and superheroes and alter egos and things like that, I thought you guys might be interested in that.
Yeah, we should do a whole podcast on wrestling comics because there's a ton of them out there. And there's a ton of wrestlers who are really into comic books as well. So that would probably be a good podcast for the future.
And wrestlers really are the best superheroes.
Well, we can talk about the Blue Blazer forever if we wanted to, and Shane Helms. 2 wrestlers who played alter egos as superheroes for a while. Sure, Shane Helms never really stopped being the Hurricane, though.
Mm. And is it too soon to say Blue Blazer stopped being Blue Blazer? Probably too soon.
No. I mean, Owen Hart.
I would say Gravity stopped Blue Blazer from being Blue Blazer.
That was his one weakness. Gravity.
Bad carabiner.
Happens.
Yep, I thought so too. Anyway,
all right.
Way to bum everyone out, everybody. Sorry.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Sorry.
John.
Sorry. Don't have me on the show anymore.
Tom, do we have a 3 to 18?
Sure, we can have a nice 3 to 18. I went to the ice cream place, and my wife made fun of me because I ordered my favorite ice cream, and she's like, "Why do you always order that? Vanilla ice cream." That's my 18. Mikey, what's your 18 ice cream?
Friendly's black raspberry ice cream.
That's a solid 18.
For me, it is. Although this is a tangent on the tangent of the 3 to 18. I just found out fribble is an actual word that doesn't just describe an ice milk drink from Friendly's.
What does a fribble mean?
A fribble is a frivolous item.
All right. I didn't know that. I've learned something today. Thank you. John, 3 to 18. What's your 18 ice cream?
I've been digging the Great Value grape, orange, and cherry single serve popsicles because we don't have air conditioning, and I will eat 50 of them.
I don't want to know where those popsicles are going, but anything to stay cool in Texas, brother. I mean that. Go nuts and send it to my OnlyFans page. Tommy.
I like some chocolate peanut butter fudge ice cream.
All right.
And they never make it sugar-free.
No, they don't.
It's because they want to kill you, man.
Yep.
Everyone's out to get Tommy. All right, I guess that brings us over to plugs. Mikey, you got a plug for me?
Well, I'd like to thank Old Gator Games. If you're looking for some old school adventure, go over to oldgatorgames.com and check out their Kickstarter. I play tested this game, and I got to tell you, the Broodmother game reminded me of Tomb of the Lizard King meets Aliens. The tactical DM who created that adventure, if you are not playing your characters in a very tactical manner and you just think, oh, it's a bunch of kobolds, or oh, it's just a bunch of bugbears, you are going to be effed up. It's old school and it's good that way. So even though I hate 5th edition, I recommend people go over and check out that Kickstarter.
I remember the week I got out of the military and we were playing a D&D game and Josh was DMing and he said there was a troll in the road and it's hissing and staring at you. And I'm like, flankers. And we just got like he's obviously making us look at this guy because flankers. And I'm like, man, the military really has helped me. I did learn something.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Kirby Crackle. Kirby Crackle, one of the great geek rock groups of all time, and they let us use their music absolutely for free as long as we give them credit, and we always do because we love these guys. You can go to kirbycrackle.com, you can go to Apple, and you can go to
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, thank you. That's right.
And it's kirbycracklemusic.com.
I always forget the music. Sorry.
That's okay. Don't forget the music.
Gotta remember the music.
And if you're wondering, if you're watching this video on YouTube and you're like, what music are they talking about? It's because the producer, me, is too lazy to edit the shit into the video because that's a lot of work. So you can check out our podcast where I actually do edit stuff into the podcast. And that is available wherever you get your podcast. We're on everything from Apple Music to Google Play to whatever, Stitcher, anything you can imagine, we're probably on it. And if we're not, shoot us an email or tweet us at the Longbox Guys or an email at luckybastard@thelongboxguys.com, and we will put ourselves on whatever app you decide is the one that you want to use.
Yeah, we are everywhere. I saw us on Bumble yesterday.
We're on Verbal. And I didn't even put us on Verbal. Verbal sent me an email saying, hey, we're hosting your podcast on our channel now. We're stealing the RSS feed from Podbean. Is that cool? And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. Why not?
Why not? More people listening to our stupidity, the better. John, you got anything to plug?
Yeah, since Mike plugged Old Gator Games, I just want to, if you have a website that needs revamping or if you need some copywritten social media management, someone to run your live streams, then I suggest going to Nomadabout. So nomad, like someone who wanders around about. That's NOMADABOUT.com. And the nice lady there, Anna, she's an expert at doing all those things that I mentioned, and can really help you level up your production game, your social media game, and your website presence.
Can we talk about your wife's YouTube channel for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
She has a very charming YouTube channel where it's 15-minute coffee?
Yeah. So
right?
just to be fair, it's the 15-ish minute coffee chat.
And there's a lot of ish. I love her and the other hosts. It's fun to listen to them talk, but they would never be impaled because they can't get to a point.
Yeah, they do run a.
I spent 15 minutes waiting for John to come in, and 15 minutes of the 15-ish minute podcast, and he still hadn't got on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, so in their defense, the best part of their show, right, is the fact they get along so well. They have a good sense of humor, and I'm not like their best guest. They've had National Geographic, award-winning photographers. They had Miss America 2020 was on their show. They have some, Milspouse of the Year, some really high impact people that have something to do with entrepreneurship or solopreneurship or even small business stuff. So if you just want to, have a laugh or hear something about, tools of the trade or something you can do, I find it entertaining and helpful. But yes, I've never seen a 15-minute show. I've never seen a 45-minute show. So.
I do love your wife and the other young lady on the channel.
Yeah.
I've never, and I don't have any skin in the game, I've never met John's wife. So I'm just saying they're still charming as all get out. It's fun to, it's like what, this is the ultimate comparison and the best compliment I can give. It is like watching my mom talk to anyone, because my mom could talk to anyone for 15-ish minutes about nothing, and it would still be entertaining, and you'd have a good time just listening to them.
Oh, thank you, Mike. That's awesome.
Does this mean I got to start calling John's wife?
Yeah, go for it. She's super nice and super helpful, and she'll help you level up your social media game.
There you go.
I think they missed an incredible name by calling it Nomad instead of Nomad About Town.
Yeah, I think that the About does leave some questions as to, what is it? What is it that they're nomad about?
Nomad About Town makes more sense to me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Put that in there. And Mike, you said your mom could talk to anyone. My name is anyone. She talked to me about nothing and everything, and I enjoyed every second of it.
At Ken Clark's wedding, she introduced herself to everyone at the wedding and sat down and talked to him. She knew everyone from both sides of the family by the time she left. When she flew out to New Orleans to visit me one time, as I was picking her up, we were walking to the car and complete strangers were yelling, "Bye, Ruthie, have fun with your son."
She's one of those people that, like, if she ran up and hugged the Pope, people were like, "Who's hugging Miss Manning?"
But anyway, I digress.
Tommy, any other plugs?
I'd like to plug geekorthodox.com.
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 Hello, Tammy. Geekorthodox.com, purveyor of fine t-shirts and other geeky things such as stained glass prints, Johnny Skywalker rocks glasses, t-shirts, baseball caps, you name it, they got it. Geekorthodox.com.
And I'd like to thank Seth and the boys over at who'snextgaming.com. If you get a chance to check them out, they talk about video games, movies, comic books, TV shows, sex robots. They rarely talk about sex robots anymore. It's kind of disappointing. But, I got my fingers crossed.
They
That's
need more
too bad
TV
because-
shows about sex robots. Then they would talk about it more.
They were talking about sex, love, and robots on the last podcast, and I was like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It didn't come.
Damn it. That's funny because I even hooked Seth and the boys up with an interview with someone from that our good friend Remy knows, who's doing an independent movie about sex robots. I'm like, oh, you got to get her on the show.
Yeah.
I would also like to plug our Patreon page. That's the Longbox Guys at Patreon for a mere $1 a month.
Wait.
Wait.
What?
What?
$1
I know,
a month?
right?
The cost of a hand job downtown?
In 1922, yes.
It's an expensive hand
But
job.
you also get a cup of coffee and a horse
Yeah. Okay. All
and a
right.
new shirt.
Wait. No, I better not. Okay.
Stop being fribble.
Aha! For a mere $1 a month, you can pay more if you like, but for just $1 a month, you get an extra podcast every week called The Geek Leak, where we just kind of talk about whatever geeky things are on our mind. We play a game called Dead or Alive, where we talk about old TV shows and who might be dead, who might be alive. Sometimes these TV shows are movies. Sometimes they are other things, but we might even do a Broadway play at some point. Who knows? We're crazy. All the money that we collect does go to the Elizabeth Peabody House, which is a charitable organization and food bank, feeding over 80 families a week. And they do great work down there. So give us your money. Give us that money. Anybody else?
I'd also like to plug downwindkites.com. If you feel like going to fly a kite, get your kite at downwindkites.com. Go fly a kite.
I've got one more. I'm going to put it up there so you guys can see it on our TV thing. Vital Disorder. Talk about an old school sticker company. They made me some great stickers of my tattoo. A boom. That is my unicorn octopus. I love it. They did a great job. Thank you, Vital Disorder.
Great. So, LT, you got any words of wisdom for us?
If you haven't gotten your shot, think about getting your shot. Get 2 shots, maybe. And be safe, folks.
That's right. Take 2 shots with the Longbox Guys. And what do I always compare this to? This is like drunk history, but for comics. And Tom, what do you always say?
I always say, don't diss what you hate, just promote what you love. You're going to live a lot longer. And John, any last words for us? Take us out with some wisdom, some army wisdom.
The only thing I have to say is I got nothing.
Good man. Spoken like a warrant officer.
Oh, well done.
As the guy who made Specialist 4 times.
Okay, I got one. Durste vashi mardani hubu. There's one for you.
Oh, what's it translate to?
I'm pretty sure it's suck my mother flippin' dick. So
John,
it's the only Serbo-Croatian I remember.
John, this is for you. Doti te se mojo pizza.
Hey, whoa. Kuchte mi pero.
Oh, that's just rude.
Oh,
That's just
hey
rude,
guys,
man.
guys, this is a family-friendly podcast.
Well,
No,
I
it's
did
not.
include a mom in that, so I guess that's family friendly.
I'd like to apologize to all our Serbo-Croatian listeners
sorry.
out there today. And thank you very much for listening. Have a great day. Thank you for the podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.